You know, I can't think of any berry more nutritious, not to mention delicious, than the blueberry. I mean, it has health benefits ranging from cancer prevention to helping with memory loss. So please join me today as we explore one of the most common preparations of this Native American berry today on Okay, now the first thing you want to do is make your crust. That starts with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, you're going to want to add 1 cup, which is 2 sticks of butter that I've cubed into half-inch pieces and tossed in a tablespoon of flour and chilled in the fridge. Then, you're going to want to add 1 tablespoon of sugar. What you're going to want to do is crumble the butter with the flour using your fingertips to just grind the butter in between. For those of you using a food processor, you're going to want to add your butter, your sugar, and your flour to your bowl, and then you're going to want to pulse about 10 times or until it resembles coarse cornmeal. Okay, now as you can see here, I got about 2 cups of ice water. Now you're going to want to make sure this water is really cold, because if it's not, it's going to melt all the butter in your crust and make it all crumbly and black, which you don't want. So, you're going to want to use a 1 teaspoon measurement to measure out about 8 to 10 teaspoons of water into your pie dough. Now you can tell your pie dough's done when you can roll it into a nice ball. Once you've done that, you're going to want to place it onto a piece of saran wrap and press it down into a disc. Then you're going to want to wrap it up with the saran wrap and place it in the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, it all starts with 4 cups of fresh blueberries, 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of freshly ground cinnamon, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, and a tablespoon of lemon juice. Okay, now a little side note about the blueberries. I would recommend using fresh picked, but if you have to use store-bought or frozen, that's fine. Now, if you're like me and you want to enjoy blueberry pie all year round, you can freeze the blueberries. Okay, now the first thing you want to do is give your berries a thorough rinsing. Then you want to dry them off either using a paper towel or a salad spinner. If you've dried your berries, you want to place them in a thin layer on a baking sheet. Then you want to place them in the freezer overnight until frozen solid. You want to store your berries in a zip-top bag in the freezer. It should stay anywhere from 5 to 6 months. Now, when you're ready to make your filling, you're going to want to thaw your berries in the bowl you plan on using to make it. And then you're going to make the filling as you normally would, but you're going to add an extra teaspoon of cornstarch because frozen berries tend to be more waterlogged than fresh. After the 15 to 20 minutes are up, you're going to want to cut your dough in half. Then you're going to want to work with 1 half at a time. The first thing you want to do is sprinkle down a little flour on your board. Then you want to set down your dough and start rolling it into a nice circle. Okay, once you got your pie dough rolled out, it's time for the most dreaded part of making a pie, and that's moving the dough from the rolling board to the pie plate. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little tip, and it involves a flexible cutting board. So what you're going to want to do is slide your flexible cutting board underneath your pie dough. And you're going to lift it up, bring it over, and slide it out once you get it over to your pie plate. Then you just want to patch any holes that are left. Once you've done any final patchwork you need to do on your crust, you can add your filling. Then you're going to want to work on your second crust. Okay, once you've rolled out your second pie crust, you're going to want to transfer it over your pie just like you did with the last one. Okay, once you place the top on your pie, you're going to want to crimp the edges and poke a hole in the center to let steam out. Then, you're going to want to place this in a 425 degree oven for 40 to 50 minutes or until the filling starts bubbling up. Well, I hope we've encouraged
you to give this miracle berry a second chance. You know, I wonder if this really does reduce wrinkles.
I can't believe it worked.
Okay, now for those of you who are new to making pie, I'm going to share with you guys some of the problems I encountered while trying to make this recipe. Now, the first problem is one that I feel is a very common problem, and that is a dry pie crust. Now, if you have a dry pie crust, it's going to crumble when you try to transfer it from cutting board to pie plate. Now, two ways to fix this problem are, one, you can add more water and then wrap it up and put it in the fridge for another 15 to 20 minutes, or you can patch it. Now, as you can see here, the first time I made this recipe, I did have a dry pie crust, but I patched it up, and this will turn out just fine. It won't look bad or anything. Okay, now the second problem I feel like is also very common is that your pie crust will actually break open during baking and some of the filling will leak out onto the top of the pie. It'll look something like this. If you want a picture perfect pie, what you can do is... Okay, now as you can see here, I have a fairly good representation of the top of our pie crust. I mean, I got a circle and I've got the cross we made in the center of the pie. Now, what you're going to want to do is take a paring knife and just cut a series of slits in the pie, coming about an inch to the edge. You can do anywhere from 4 to 6 slits. And that's going to allow for steam to vent out these holes that you've cut, thus making it so your pie won't burst.